to me, it speaks to another interesting part of designing IEMs. And that is, so you use the word character when you describe what you experienced hearing this tweeter. I liked the character of it. So that tells me that not all frequencies are created equal. And that how would I phrase this? That maybe, for instance, that the graph doesn't tell you everything you need to know about what you're going to experience. Yeah. Just throwing it on a graph and seeing what frequencies it's throwing, okay, that's a little bit of information and maybe there's some usefulness there. But one of the things that the graph isn't going to tell you is the character of the sound that you're about to hear. What does character of sound mean? To me, it means that, a high end can actually have what I describe as grippiness, where it jumps off the page and it grabs you, and that it gives this realness and texture to the sounds that it's recreating, as opposed to just creating a sound that almost looks like you're looking at a picture on the wall, as opposed to living in the setting that's in the picture. Yeah. And so how much does a graph actually tell us? And what does character of sound mean to you?
That's a great question. The whole graphing scenario, obviously, I'll say me because, I spend the vast majority of my time designing IEMs. That obviously I use graphs all the time. I use graphs all the time. I have 5-6 different measuring scenarios that I go, what's it look like here? What's it look like with a cheap Mic W test microphone? What's it look like with a 711 coupler from China? What's it look like with the Audix TM2? What's it look like with the Earthworks microphone? Yeah. I use graphs to catch. It's a strange thing. I don't have to anymore, but throughout the years, I've had to use testing to catch comb filtering, to catch, funny things that are happening that I might not necessarily hear, especially in the early days when I wouldn't notice, a comb filtering, where you get this really tight, like super V shape, like something's happening, something's wrong. Yep. Graph would always catch that for me. I don't have that problem anymore because I can hear it now. Sure. It's there. I've never, and we, I speak of the 10 years before, we're partners now, but I've never really posted graphs, and we continue to that now. Not because we don't have graphs, we have pro graphs. You got them on you know what they are. Yep. We sent them to California to have all the proper graphs, and I share them, but I don't post them because it's all, and most people know a graph really tells you how much of every frequency is present at a given instant. Right. That's all it says, but music doesn't present itself at all frequencies at every given, like all on the same. We're not putting pink noise through our monitors. Yeah. We're putting music through our monitors. And we put music through our monitors. There's dips and valleys all over the place. Yeah. So putting all frequencies all through at the same time gives us a linear evaluation of how much frequency is present at any one point. Mm-hmm. Doesn't tell us anything about character, what they sound like, what they
the sound stage.
Nothing. It tells us nothing about that. So to post a graph and then people to buy based on a graph, I think is not a good decision.
You're just not getting the whole story.
You're not even getting the part of the story. Right. Really. Yeah. The only thing you can, only thing if it's super obvious and you got 30 dB of bass gain,
sure,
then you're going to be like, these are going to be super hot in the bass, and they're going to, from my experience, you do that you're going to miss all the mids and the highs. It's just going to be enveloped in this mush of bass. So that, the easy stuff, But I've been really excited about graphs before. And I won't tell you the models, but there are a couple of models that I saw the graph and went, these are going to sound good. Like, that's a graph.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a client bring them in. We lit them 30 seconds. I'm like, what? What? This doesn't work. It's not a thing. So yeah, this whole graph scenario, looking at a graph and buying based on a graph, or it offers very little information, and I liken it to life. If we look at life as a linear thing from this to there, with no ups and downs and backs and forth, that's not how life works. It's not linear.
Yeah.
It's not linear. Everything's happening at the same time. So in that, exploring character of drivers, and if you go through our driver collection, we have everything under the sun to try. Everything under the sun. Some terrible, some beautiful, some, they all have different character. And then it's a matter of how you put them together.
Yeah.
It's like, what does this offer? What does this offer? And how do I see them working together? And then you try, and 10 times out of 10, I give them to you, and it doesn't really work together. Or this is happening. So character to me starts to derive from my career as a musician.
Right.
And being an upright bass player and struggling with the upright bass and trying to, play the upright bass on the big stage and it sounding terrible.
Sure.
Like, how do I have the character here. How do I present it in a bigger way? And learning, how to constantly fidgeting with EQ. Like, what if I make it a little brighter than I really like? What does it do out front? What if I bring in 900 was my worst? 900, I just lose my mind. I'm like, oh God. And so it was always all 900 off every time. And then I eventually was like, turn 900 up just till I could barely stand it. And then it cut.
Yeah.
So in designing monitors, it's like, how much of that can I take? Oh, and then pulling it back. And it's not as easy as an EQ. It's like a whole thing. But when I know that the character is there, and this is so silly, I have so many videos of this. When I design something, I put them in my ears and I play a tune that I've played 1,000 times, but the hair on the back of my neck stands out and my skin is like doing its goosebumps, and I'm immediately in tears, and I'm like dancing around the room, around the ping pong table, and I'm filming myself, crying and laughing from just listening to it, as silly as Coldplay, Up and Up.
Sure.
And I'm like, what is this? Why am I in tears? Why am I like, and it's that character that bites you.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't do that, I'm not onto it yet. So that character is a really intuitive sort of thing. We're all subjective to it. But what I have noticed is when that happens, we're onto something.
Yeah.
And I'm immediately like, Justin, come, you got to listen. And you come and you're like, there it is. I don't know how the fuck you did it, but there. So there is, it's subjective, but there is a character in sound that the vast majority of us can really relate to.
Absolutely. Well, it looks a little bit different for me. I mean, I tend to be a pretty stoic person, but if you know that we found the sound, that we found it by dancing around the room and having that response, the emotion, everything. For me, what that looks like is putting them in, listening to, again, a song I've heard 1,000 times, and really feeling like I'm actually in the room with the artist. That's the character that matters to me. whether it's hearing the nature of the guitar and the strings on the guitar and just little characters of it that just feel so real, like the guitar is right in front of me, or hearing the space that the artist is singing in.
Yeah.
Not just hearing the microphone, but getting that little touch of the room that they're in, or hearing a delay where you can actually hear the delay going off into the distance.
Yes.
You know, where maybe you've never even noticed there was a delay on the voice, and now you actually hear the throw just, you know, diffusing off into space. It's those things that make me feel like I'm in the studio where they created it, and I can actually get the imagery like I'm there. That's how, to me, that's how I know that you found it.
Yeah.
And what that is an experience.
Yeah.
I mean, we're trying to create an experience. We're not trying to create a graph.
Yeah.
And we're not trying to play some sort of marketing game where it's like, this sounds great, but there's only 4 drivers. Like, we got to double that or else no one's going to care. It doesn't matter. When that experience has been created, graph be damned, driver count be damned.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
And I find on stage that experience really translates because it brings that realness that you experience in recorded music and starts to recreate it in live music. And so even for my own self, when I'm playing bass guitar on stage, I'm hearing all the character of my own hands because it is recreating the realness. And there can actually be a danger in recreating realness at times. And there's some tricks to creating a great monitor mix on stage, and we can talk about that too.
Yeah, I'd love to.
But I think when we've dialed in that experience, when we're listening to a Coldplay tune, there's something about that actually really translates into the world that I take this product out into and the stages I take it out into, and it creates that same level of realness and experience in that setting, whether it be the feedback I'm getting from the audience, the feedback I'm getting from my own hands, what I'm experiencing from the band around me, and even just the character and the nature of the room.
Yeah.
That all is amplified and becomes part of the experience that we tried to capture by making a Coldplay song sound that good and feel that good.